Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another episode of Have Your Say. I'm your presenter, Bashir Blenman, and today we're going to be talking about the relationship with your parents. Like we know in Islam, the parents have a tremendous right upon us, and it's something that we have to understand, and it's something that we have to exercise, and we have to give them their full rights. But the main issue that a lot of the youth are having is that they have no relationship with their parents, when in reality this is the best relationship that they could possibly have in this dunya with anyone. So today we're going to talk to our guests about this issue, and inshallah we can come to some type of conclusion as to what we can do to better the situation. So assalamu alaikum. What's your name, please?
My name is Faisal. Walaikum
Nice to
salam.
meet you, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Hello, salam. I'm Bobby Cameron. I'm from East Ham.
From East Ham, yeah? Okay. Where are you from, Faisal? Tell us a bit about yourselves, guys.
I'm from Anna Park in Newham, and I'm half Bengali, half white.
Okay.
And I was brought up in Bengali culture. My family didn't really go into like the white side.
Okay.
Didn't really mix after like my parents, like after what happened. And since then, like I've been like witnessed quite a lot of my parents have at least brought me into the Bengali culture quite a bit. So like a lot of things have been pushed onto me, which like I'm not really fond of now.
Okay, we'll touch on that in a minute, inshallah. Tell us a bit about your background, Bobby.
Okay, so I'm half English, half Pakistani. I was brought up in kind of like, one way to say it is like kind of like a westernized background kind of thing. So my mom was brought up in like a boarding school and stuff. So like she's Muslim, but like we have like a bit of like more modern values and stuff. But like I kind of found my Islam along the way, and it's kind of like we have different ways of thinking, and that's how I find it hard sometimes to relate to my parents.
I hear you, man. So we've got a bit of a cocktail here today. So we've got half Bengali, half English, half Pakistani. Like my father's like mixed race Caribbean from Trinidad, and my mum's like mixed South African. So we've got a bit of a cocktail. Only difference is obviously I don't have any Muslim parents. You know what I mean? Yeah. Inshallah they come to Islam, but I think that we've all had the same kind of issues growing up. I think one of the main issues we all have is that we think we know more than we actually know, and a lot of the time, not even a lot of the time, maybe 99% of the time, your parents kind of know best. But it takes us a bit of time to kind of get our heads around that. So what type of relationship did you have with your family in regards to being able to relate to each other, and how was it with your parents?
Growing up in like a Bengali household, there wasn't really much communication with like father and son. Like you won't be able to speak to him about majority of the topics that you would want to speak to your parents about. Yeah. Like when it comes to with Asian parents, it only comes to like education and religion. Like that's the two things you can go back to your parents with. Everything else is like pushed away, brushed under the carpet. Like you can't really speak to them about it.
What would you say, Bobby? How's your communication with your parents?
Alhamdulillah, my parents, my communication's good, but I think it's just a matter of like we don't really relate to each other sometimes when it comes to our way of thinking and stuff. So it's just basically about like so just relating to each other. That's the only struggle that we have. Other than that, we alhamdulillah, we have good communication. We talk about things and stuff.
But my I don't know, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, yeah? But I think that sometimes the lack of communication can be a good thing and a bad thing, because I think that sometimes we get some kids that are a bit too comfortable with their parents, and it kind of brings the respect down. Do you understand? Yeah. They feel like they could talk about anything, and they can say anything, and they can kind of do what they want in front of their parents. And then you've got another extreme when you can't really do anything, you know what I mean? But I think that these things for you guys, I don't know, how old you Faisal?
18.
You're 18, how old are you, Bobby?
22.
So you're still young, yeah? I think that the older you get and the more like you understand life a bit more, the more you'll be able to relate to your parents. Because at the end of the day, they come from a different generation to you guys, you know what I mean? Like it's a totally different ball game now. They never had Facebook, they never had Twitter, they never had all of these things that are going on now that literally changed the societies, you know, like you can imagine. The societies have changed because of what we have now. So that relationship is going to break down just because you don't even have things in common. It's not even about them being your mum and dad anymore. You know what I mean? It's just about having nothing in common. Do you understand? So like I say, but what do you think is the best thing that you guys can do to have a better relationship with your parents? What do you think, Bobby?
I think it just comes down to spending time with your parents and just finding things that you can do together. Like I watch like TV with my mum and stuff, and like, that's a common thing that everyone does. I take her out sometimes as well. She enjoys shopping. So it's little things that you have to do to like maintain that bond with your mother or your father.
Okay. What do you think, Faisal?
Well, I'm not really sure. I don't know where I would start.
So you definitely need to be here today, innit? Yeah, I think you need to be here.
I don't know how I would start. Like, I'm thinking about it now. It's like I do want to do something. I do, but I don't know where I would begin. Like, how I would try to make that connection, like re-establish that connection, or even build a connection.
Okay, think about this, guys. Now, imagine there was someone in this world, that you really looked up to. You know, I mean, maybe it's a footballer, or I don't know. It could be anything. You know, I mean, someone that you looked up to, even if it was a woman that you know of that you wanted to marry. Yeah, would you change aspects of yourself to try and get closer to that person, or would you just kind of be content with who you are, even if it's not really, you know, what I mean, even if you haven't reached your potential yet? Would you change aspects of your life for the better to be closer to someone that you really want to be close to? We're all sinners. We're all just average people. We're just humans, to be honest. But we constantly change things about ourselves. Why? Because we want to get closer to Allah. We change a lot of things about ourselves, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Do you understand, guys? So if you understand the relationship with your parents as something that is it's tremendous. It's a great thing to have a relationship with your parents, and to have honor and love and mercy between your parents. It's something that is beyond your comprehension. Do you understand, guys? So you have to look at it as something that maybe they don't need to kind of, you know what I mean? They don't need to try it really hard to kind of relate to you. I think it's more something you need to try to do with them, because the right is upon you guys for your parents. Do you understand? So I think if you consciously look at it as something that, you know, I need to have a good relationship with my parents, and I know how important it is. So if I've got to change little things about myself it's gonna make me a better person, then maybe it will become easier. What do you think, guys? You think that's a good idea?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea.
So what do you think you can change? Give me an example. Give me something you think you could change that can bring a better bond between you and your father.
I have to think about that.
I think you know, but maybe you need to talk about it off camera, yeah? I think you know. What do you think, Bobby?
With my father,
mother and father, not just, but I think his issue is a bit of his father, yeah? So I'm saying father, but you could say mother and father, yeah?
Yeah, generally I think with my father, I don't really see him a lot, I don't live with him, and he lives kind of far, but I think generally it's just, I need to like maintain the bonds a bit more and kind of see him more, make more of an effort. I think that's one problem that I have, and it comes down to time. I blame it on time, but we know that as Muslims that we don't have infinite time. One day it's going to end, like it might be tomorrow, it might be an hour.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a matter of just spending more time with my parents.
What do you honestly think are the things that are like blocking that relationship with you and your parents? Like actual things that you know that are, you know, kind of, you know, not giving you that connection that you want.
It's like he can't really relate properly with like some of the things that I have that he didn't. It's because he didn't have it. Like I have a more open social life, and he obviously grew up in like back in the day, like yeah. So his social life was quite like restricted. He could only do certain things, and he could only go certain places. Where it's more open to like our generation, like we could do quite a lot more. And because of that, he doesn't really understand that. It's just like he thinks that I'm just like going astray.
What do you think, Bobby?
I think it just comes down to your generation. So the reality that we're in now is completely different to the reality that our parents was in. So I think sometimes we just gotta take it to their level as well. Like, I know we're younger, but we need to think of how they're thinking as well. Because once you get to a certain age, you have a certain way of thinking, and it's hard to change that way of thinking. So sometimes you gotta try to relate to them yourself, I think. And
so, what do you think you could do to fix it? Like realistically, what do you think like right now? If you had a chance now to kind of, you know, fix that relationship with your father, what steps would you take?
I probably would have had like an open conversation with him. We could discuss ideas and that, so like he can like speak. He can at least say what he feels is wrong with what I'm doing, and I could try to explain it in like the simplest form, so like that it's not as bad as he thinks it is. So like for example, sometimes I come home late, and he automatically assumes, because of the youth of today, he automatically assumes I'm doing something that they're doing. Like you see some majority of the people in my area that are like my age and they're out and about at late times, they're usually selling drugs or doing drugs, or come fighting or doing anything like that, stuff like that. So whenever I come home at roughly the same kind of time, he'll assume that I'm doing the same thing. So if I could, I would just have a open chat with him about what I'm doing and like how he could probably help as well.
Because I think it's the issue. What we're saying is that what can we actually do to build a better connection with the parents? But I think that from what I've gathered, I think your relationship with your mother is quite good, from what I've gathered. But I think that the relationship with your father, maybe that's the issue. So what do you think you can do to try and fix that?
I think with my father, definitely. I think I've been actually thinking about this a lot recently. Is that I need to kind of talk to him and kind of trying to understand his way of thinking as well, and then kind of relate it back to myself, because I haven't spent a lot of time with my father in the past 5 years now, because my mum and dad they split up. Yeah. So, and my dad is not Muslim, so it's kind of like I want to be able to bring him to the deen, you know what I mean? Yeah. I want to bring him to the right path, and I think I know it's not going to take one conversation. It's going to take time to do something like that. Yeah. So
one thing I want you brothers to think of it like this as well, is that we can never really liken our relationship with Allah to the relationship with our parents, but there's some principles within this relationship that are the same. It's like, if you're very distant from Allah, it's like you're empty. It's like there's nothing. Do you understand, guys? It's like a calamity to be distant from Allah. So you have to understand that the same type of principle is in relation to your parents. Without that relationship with your parents, no matter what you think, there's always going to be some type of void inside of you. Do you understand? So hopefully, even now, like maybe parents are looking at the show and whatnot, and maybe this is something that they can think about as well. But we know, like I say, you don't have any control over your parents. What they decide to do is their business. But you've got control over your situation. So you have to look at it like, end of the day, maybe they don't want to have the relationship with me. Maybe they're not going to make the effort, but I'm going to make the effort. And through the effort, then maybe they will start to make an effort as well. But my advice to you guys as well, it's all about communication. It's all about talking. Sometimes they sound like it seems like they're not listening, but they're listening. And your parents, like I say, they've had a lot more life than you guys. They know a lot more than you do, even if it doesn't seem that way. And even though things are different, they're still your parents. You know what I mean? So it's a catch-22. You can't live with them. You can't live without them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think that you have to look at something that you're in control of, and you got to do your utmost to make it a better situation. Because I'm coming from a situation where my parents are not Muslim, and I maybe didn't have the best relationship with them before, especially my mother. But after Islam and understanding the rights my parents have on me, it's been something that I've made a very important factor in my life, to have a good relationship with them, no matter what they do to me. Do you understand? Yeah. So, like I say, thinking about this now, how do you feel now? Has it made you, I don't know, think about this situation? I know you guys didn't know you were going to talk about this. Yeah. But how do you feel about the situation now? Do you think it's something that you really need to prioritize on, or do you think it's, I don't know, what do you think?
I think this needs more thought. I need to put more thought into this. I understand now that I need the relationship I have with my parents is not really that good. Well, I never used to really think about it much, but now I'm thinking about it, it's quite bad. I need to put some effort into fixing it.
What do you think, bro?
I think generally, when it comes to my parents, I've always had I've been close to my mum, and I always used to have a very close relationship with my dad. But now I think I just don't make enough effort to see him and whatnot. But then sometimes I think, because I'm always the one that calls him and messages him, and I think, oh, why doesn't he ever call me, kind of thing. But it's not because he just don't care. He's just generally a busy person. So I think sometimes you just got to be the bigger person and kind of just like say, look, hello dad, how are you? Kind of give them a call, like just show them that you're thinking about them, innit?
Because my advice to you guys as well, even look at it as a selfish thing. Look at it as something that you're doing for yourself. Do you understand? Like, you know that it's going to make them happy and you know that, but look at it as a selfish thing. Like, you've got to do it. You have to have a good relationship with your parents, whether you like it or not. And even if they don't want to have it with you, you should want to have it with them. And even if it doesn't happen, then at least you know that you've done what you can do. But even if you have to look at it as a selfish thing, something that you're just doing for yourself to make Allah pleased with you, or to be the better person in the situation, whatever floats your boat kind of thing, you got to do it. But the main thing, we do it to please Allah. We try to have a good relationship with our parents to please Allah. But okay, guys, on an important note, like I say, we don't want to expose too much things. But what do you think are the biggest mistakes that the parents are making? Because I think we've made it more about us. What do you think they're doing wrong? Why, like I say, there's a breakdown in communication?
They're pushing forward ideas and stuff that you're not really comfortable with, and then you end up like regretting it a lot later on. And because they're not like directly involved with it, it doesn't really affect them much, but it affects you a lot.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when I was like growing up, my dad pushed on the idea of engineering and stuff, and then he made me do engineering during secondary school, and then he made me do engineering in college. And during my second year, I didn't really enjoy it at all. And then it's like it got to the point where I didn't really want to turn up. Like I just going into that class used to make me like proper depressed. Like, I used to get so upset. Like, why am I here? What am I doing this for? I like drawing. I like building. I like creating like sculptures and stuff. I was always an artsy kind of guy. And then my dad was throwing me into like mechanical engineering. I have to learn about bolts and screws and all this. Like, and I wasn't doing anything I enjoyed. And then it started affecting the relationship I have with teachers and stuff. Because during my first year, it was good. Second year, I started realizing, why am I doing this? And then I ended up having a lot of arguments with my teachers. Like, the teachers never even wanted me in the lesson sometimes. It all changed after I started like seeing like why was I even doing this in the first place? Like, at first it was good for my family. Like, I thought, yeah, I'll do this for my dad. But then I started seeing it had no effect on my dad whether I did it or not.
What would you say, Bob? What's like the main mistakes that they're making?
Well, I would say from the beginning with my parents is that it comes down to my deen. So I wasn't really brought up with Islam entirely. So I was just taught to believe that there's God, and I was, to be honest with you, I was kind of lost. Like, I didn't know like what I was, kind of, if you get what I'm saying. I know I was Muslim. I was born as a Muslim, but I didn't understand. And I think that's a very, very vital thing that's happening with the youth. They're just not taught about why they're Muslim. Why am I Muslim? That's a lot of questions that youth don't ask. Sometimes they do. The youth do ask, but it takes a certain click. It takes something to happen. And I think something happened to me, and nothing major. But one day I just clicked, because I used to do a lot of bad things. I used to sin a lot. I was a completely different person to the person I am now, and this is about 3 years ago. Yeah. So alhamdulillah, I found my way now, and I've learnt more about Islam. I've learnt my deen, and it's keeping me on the straight path. But sometimes I wish only that maybe if I was brought up more with that mentality, that I might be an even better person now. But you don't know how it is. Like, Allah plans for you different things, and alhamdulillah, I found my path now, and hopefully inshallah I can stay on it.
I think that's the most difficult thing about this situation, is that we do want to obey our parents. We do want to, we want to be obedient kids, and we have to a certain extent. But this is the issue as well. Are we obedient in haram, or are we obedient in halal? And this is the thing that a lot of people are battling with. So you have to look at your situation, that maybe what you're doing, maybe what they want you to be obedient in is not even haram. But maybe you're not seeing the bigger picture to it. Like, I understand, for your example, the engineering thing is not what you want to do. But maybe your dad just kind of knows how society really is, and he wants you to have something in your pocket that's going to really benefit you later. So you have to always try to look at the bigger picture to it. If what they're telling you to do is not haram, then 9 times out of 10, there's a lot of benefit in what they're asking you to do. So it's for you to kind of understand that they do know better, and they do want good for you. Do you understand? And it's something that you have to understand in totality, not just something you understand when you want to understand it. You have to understand it in totality. If they're not tending to do haram, most likely what they're asking you to do is going to benefit you. And if you don't know it now, you know it later. Yeah, you get to my age, you'll kick yourself until the cows come home. Yeah, but like I say, is there any advice, quick advice you want to give to the people in regards to? I know maybe we're not the best people to give advice, but they say if you can't do it, then maybe you can teach. So what's your quick advice to have a better relationship with your parents? What do you think?
Be more open with your parents, because like one day you're gonna see that you won't be able to speak at all, and then you're gonna like part ways after a few years as well.
What do you think, Bobby? Quick advice.
I think communication is the key, really. So just talking about things, spending quality time with your parents is actually like vital, because it opens them conversations. Sometimes you can't just go have a direct conversation with your parents, because sometimes it might feel a bit awkward. Sometimes you just gotta do it. Sometimes like it sounds a bit bad, but you have to do it slyly, because you just need to open that door for that conversation, and then just go with it, and just tell your parents how you're feeling and talk to them about these things, because if you don't, then you're gonna ball it up, and it's not good for anyone.
Definitely. Well, like I say, thanks for coming, guys. Yeah, we'd like to thank our guests for coming today. Please, brothers and sisters in mankind, okay, your relationship with your parents is very important. Do not belittle this, and this is something that is a big blessing upon you. Appreciate it now and do the best you can to have a better relationship with your parents before it's too late. Like we know, the parents, they're here today, maybe they won't be here tomorrow. So I ask you all to like I say, to make this a means of benefit to you and your friends and your family. And I hope the parents are watching as well. And please try to have a better relationship with your children. Okay, so we've come to the end of the show. I look forward to seeing you again on Have Your Say. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.